Welcome everyone to the fourth webinar in the Goodman webinar series. My name is Christopher Gadowski and I work for BOC in Austria. Today's presenter will be Damiano Falcioni. He is also from BOC and he will give an orientation regarding the knowledge management in the scope of the Goodman project. Before we started, let us touch on a few organizational details. This webinar is planned to take about 30 minutes and we'll start with a couple of guidelines. The subsequent content section is where Damiano will talk about the knowledge management in respect to use cases of the Goodman project, and we will finish with a fade out where any arisen questions may be answered directly. One important note for this webinar is that all attendees are muted. Regarding all questions, please feel free to use the chat window located in the bottom right-hand corner of your GoToMeeting panel, and we shall take a look at them during the fade out of the webinar. Another important point is that if you would like to re-watch this webinar on a later date, it is being recorded and therefore will be made available on a later date for on-demand viewing. All right, those were the organizational details. Now I'd like to hand the floor over to Damiano to give us the knowledge management presentation.
Thank you very much, Christopher. I hope you see my screen now.
Looks good.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Today I will talk about the knowledge management part of the Goodman project for the zero-defect manufacturing. The knowledge management. As you can see, is on the top level, so is the most abstract layer that you can find in the architecture. And this is where all the information are collected and modeled and stored, but also where this the loop is closed and the feedback information are provided to the final users in order to check the quality and review the analysis informations. More in details, if we go more in details on the acknowledgement on the abstract part, where also the data analytics is available, we can see that we receive data from the mass environment in the knowledge management and is assessed by the quality expert that are responsible to model the KPI, model the rule, model the process, and add all the knowledge of the domain that is responsible for to the knowledge platform. And once this is modeled, there is a marriage with the data provided by the mass, pushed from the mass, in order to be visualized in a easily way for the line operator in a dashboard format. Of course, we receive data also from the data analytics in order to visualize the same results as the mass. We will see later how will this be displayed in a dashboard example demo. So about the knowledge management part, a small overview about the components. The knowledge management platform is based on GO0DMAN product that is a meta modeling framework. And so we have a meta modeling layer where the user, not the user, but we was able to create our model types and collect and define all the concepts required by this domain. As an example, we are able to model the KPI concept, metrics, goals, rules, tasks, and so on, and group them in model types. Then, thanks to this meta modeling layer that is provided by GO0DMAN, we can automatically add an editor for our model types that allow us to create a BPMN model for representing the process flow, or KPI model that use the concept that we modeled in order to create KPI and goals and metrics. and also rules and other stuff. These functionalities are provided by this upper layer that is named knowledge management functionalities over the meta modeling layer. And of course, it provides the modeling, some modeling features by a modeling editor, but also other features like search and analysis for identifying model, graphics, visualization, documentation, automatic documentation generation, import-export of the model, and collaboration for the editing, and so on. So most of helping features that the domain user need in order to create and model their knowledge. Over that, and in this context, we created some components in order to support and close the loop. So in particular, the quality dashboard that allow to visualize the KPI values in a widget format, so allowing the user to create different perspectives depending on the need. The data asset service that is responsible for collecting the data arrived from the mass system and harmonize them and store for internal processing. A quality management tool using used to actually perform the operation and the calculation using a microservice framework that we will see later, and on improvement rules that it will be responsible for automatically evaluate the defined rules. So once you model the rules, this can be deployed and will be executable, sort of. So over this, there is a web interface that allows rule-based access in order to visualize different sections based on the user's need. And what we will see later is actually an example, the demonstration of this interface. So how it will look like. And we can see that this one is a web platform, totally web platform where the user can log in and visualize some model type, model content. So we will see, for example, some models about the rules in DMN standard format. We will see an example of a KPI model where the user define the metrics available, the KPIs, and how they meet the goal. And all this can be visualized in different perspectives, and at the end merged with the data in order to be visualized in a quality dashboard that can be also personalized by the user's need. So visualizing, for example, different kind of charts or visualizing the KPI on a specific section of the product or on a specific part of the process. Let's start with the live demo. We can log in with our users. From the modeling toolkit, we then we can perform some operation, and we will select the design part of the toolkit. And from here, we can visualize all the model available in this repository in this inside our knowledge environment. I will zoom out a bit. For this demo, I will show you some models we create for FAIR, automation and testing, and that are public available and already tested. And so in particular, this is an overview model that will show an overview of what is inside this demo. So we have some, we will see some information about the process, about the product, about the quality dashboard, and about the rules and how they are executed. On the bottom, we will have the smart inspection tool that will provide such kind of data that are collected by the mass multi-agent system and reported to our knowledge model environment. So in this production process view, we have the possibility to define our product, our process actually, and to define where are the KPI calculated and how the process acts. In this case, it's a simple flow where the user check the gap and flash points, and then if the quality are fine, it complete, or if not, it inform the manager. From this model, you can also see that we attached some KPIs. These are the rounded objects. And we can also visualize some dashboard information inside directly inside this model. This is one of the 3 features available, so the integration of this visualization inside the process flow. The second model is about the product and is responsible to collect all the information about the produced piece. And in this case, we can see after the loading that maybe may take some time due to the possibility to load the images and maybe network issues that may arise. And in this case, we will see that the product, in this case, the back part of a testing car, it's visualized, and all the KPI information are also displayed in the specific point where they are measured. Of course, so we can define some measure information and details for that part, and we can see the details on these KPIs in the KPI model that are where this information are referenced. And in particular, in this case, we can see that this KPI model provide the possibility to model this KPI and some metrics named with these alpha symbols. And if you go in details in these objects, we can see 3 sections basically, where we have some general description filled by the domain expert that want to visualize the specific data. Then some details about the fields and the data provided by these metrics. So this metric, we can see that is providing some values and time fields information. We can also specify some target range and level and some aggregation level. And then some more technical details that are allow us to model all these metrics are actually calculated or where to retrieve the data from these metrics. We can retrieve this data from external sources or by composition of some metrics. So in this case, we have the first case because we use our microservice environment in order to collect all the information of these metrics. And we can see, we can go in the microservice controller and check this microservice ID with an operation and some inputs. And this means when this object, I mean, the metrics related to this flash 3 array are available in this microservice. So everyone that calls this microservice will return these metrics. And if we can check, we can go in the microservice management page and we can test this. If we find the microservices, this one, GO0DMAN metrics, we can test. So we see the microservice ID and operation are the same. And we can test some inputs. In this case, the input is the same as the one visualized here. And if we test this call, this one is just a simple interface that call the REST service and return the result. These are the raw results, and as you can see, is a JSON containing all the data with value and time as defined in our model, value and time. This is important because once we have modeled this, then we can use this information to calculate the other KPIs. So in this case, the flash 3R distribution is a KPI that is calculated based on this matrix. And in this case, this KPI calculates the distribution of the raw data provided by the matrix. The distribution will require, in this case, some range and a counter as a field. And in this case, we don't rely on external source, but just on the sub KPI and matrix. And we need an algorithm in order to calculate this distribution and provide the data in the correct and required format required for this KPI. What is the result? The result is a model that contains all the information needed in order to retrieve the matrix, calculate the KPI with the distribution, and collect all the information about this KPI and matrix. The last model that will be visualized are the rules. In this case, we have the model in DMN format, where you can create some decision tables and specify some actions that will be performed automatically in case the KPIs exceed a certain threshold or will fail. In this case, the action is the sending of an SMS with some parameters that can be customized based on some variables, and that will inform the final users if there is a problem with the measured points. This decision rule has been deployed and can be is the action have been performed via also the microservice framework. So we have a service that will evaluate the rule and send the SMS in case of a problem to a specific number with the name and with the measures, so with configurable parameters. What the KPI and dashboard look like can be seen in the initial model. So we have three kinds of integration. One we have seen directly in the model here. The second kind of integration is an external page, and in this case is the result of the data analytics part visualized in a box plot that allow to visualize all the clusters that are being calculated for the specific use case, with all the measures and all the information for every clusters with the distribution of the data. Of course, we can visualize the IDs of all the cars, and in this case are cars, and this will mean that a specific part we can identify problem or not based on these informations. The cluster model can be visualized also over time and over specific testing lines. So in this case, we have two cluster model for two stages of production, the finish line and the FRMII. The second visualization is based on the product view, and in this case, we can visualize a dashboard that will show the data for every specific point with the distribution that we previously calculated or that we previously modeled and visualized. So having a range here in the X line with the values, but also visualizing the raw metrics, so the raw data using the metrics value. This dashboard will use the model I showed you before. So this KPI model, where the information about the distribution and the raw metrics are have been defined, and merge this model information with some visualization widgets that you can see here, and that can be moved or defined by the users, or can be customized, adding more concept and more parameters and widgets. So the last visualization features that is available is also the integrating in the model. So visualizing, right-clicking in the model, we can visualize a dashboard for this, the default dashboard that visualize the values of all the metrics and KPI defined in the models. In this case, we may take some time because we need to calculate all the KPI and not only the one required. But here we'll see an overview of all the KPIs and metrics defined and their relation and their dependencies and all the values with the final one in this case. Back. So this was been an overview of the modeling toolkit with some demo over the defined models and an overview of all the possibility that the platform allowed, but not, of course, a complete set, because there are a lot of more features that the platform is able to perform, like grouping or, as I said before, exporting and analyzing this model. And if you have any question, I will able to. And
yes, one moment, Damiano. Yes, I believe we do have a question. Thanks for that presentation on the about knowledge management in the scope of the GO0DMAN project. And we do have a question, I see, stating if it is possible to use other filtering rules within the, I believe he means within the modeling toolkit provided here.
Yes, of course, the rules are filtering rules for the dashboard or filtering rules for the final decisions. In this, for the first case, for the dashboard, yes. So the dashboard can be filtered, and there are some options to visualize specific part of the dashboard for based on filtering on KPIs. And also about the rules, you can create many custom decisions table that will use, for example, subsequent decisions, so organize the decision in 3 forms or in a, what to say, multi-model selection in order to perform complex decisions. And this is allowed by the DMN syntax and this by the DMN format, so also by the model.
All right, thanks a lot. That looks like they're all the questions. Before we say goodbye, I would like to show our contact email from BOC regarding any further questions should you have about this webinar. Please feel free to contact us, and please check out the GO0DMAN project homepage and the innovation shop. This concludes today's webinar. Thanks for your attention, and we wish you a pleasant day.